Lena Sefu remembers the moment clearly. Her hands were shaking as she pressed the button to send $2,900 for her Uncle Baba Tun's emergency treatment. On the screen, the payment confirmation appeared, bright and final. She stared at it, her heart racing, whispering a short prayer. This money was not small change for her. It was everything she had worked for, every small sacrifice she had made over months of saying no to herself so she could help her family. To Lena, this payment was more than numbers on a screen. It was a lifeline, a chance to save someone she loved deeply. She thought about Baba Tund, remembered his laughter, the way he always called her bright star, and she felt proud that she could do this for him. She told herself it would all be worth it once she got the news that he was safe and healing. For a moment, her chest filled with hope. She imagined her family back in Kasenga smiling with relief, thanking her for stepping up when no one else could. When the message pinged back from Moses Afolabi, a relative she trusted, saying the funds had arrived, she let out a long breath. She believed everything was in motion now, that Baba Tund was on his way to treatment. She even saved the screenshot of the transfer, like a quiet badge of honor. That night she went to bed tired but light, certain she had just saved a life. Lena's story begins long before that payment. She grew up in Kasenga, a small town where money was always tight but family was everything. Her parents worked hard just to keep food on the table, and Lena quickly learned the value of every coin. From a young age, she helped by selling fruit at the market after school and tutoring children in the neighborhood. Nothing came easy, but she never complained. She told herself that as long as the family stayed together and supported each other, they could survive anything. That belief carried her through the toughest days. As she got older, Lena found small jobs that paid just enough to cover her basic needs and still send a little home. She stopped buying new clothes, wore the same shoes for years, and skipped meals so her younger siblings could eat better. Friends sometimes teased her for always saying no to fun outings, but she knew every saved shilling mattered. To her, money was not about luxury. It was survival, dignity, and the hope that one day she could lift her family out of constant struggle. When the call came about Baba Tund needing urgent treatment, Lena didn't think twice. Baba Tund wasn't just an uncle. He was the man who used to carry her on his shoulders during village festivals, the one who encouraged her to study when others said girls didn't need school. He was her role model, her hero. Hearing that his life was in danger cut her to the core. In her heart, she felt it was her duty to help him, no matter the cost. The $2,900 she sent was not just money. It was months and months of sacrifice. She had been quietly saving, hoping to use it for her siblings' school fees or to start a small tailoring business. She dreamed of a life where she wouldn't always be counting coins, where her family could finally breathe a little. But when she thought about Baba Tund, she pushed all her dreams aside. What good were school fees or a business if the man she loved like a father was gone? She decided nothing was more important than saving him. That's why pressing send on that transfer felt both painful and powerful. Painful because she knew she was giving away her entire safety net, the money that could change her family's future. Powerful because it meant she was doing the most selfless act of her life. She told herself it was worth it, that one day her siblings would understand why she gave up everything for Baba Tund. In that moment, Lena felt like a true protector of her family, the one who carried their hopes on her shoulders. The stakes were not just high, they were everything. This was her heart, her sacrifice, her future, all wrapped into one decision. She believed she was buying life itself for the man who once gave her so much love. When Lena got the call from Moses Afolabi, she didn't hesitate to pick up. Moses was family, a cousin she had always known to be talkative, quick with jokes, and close to Baba Tund. His voice sounded urgent that day, filled with panic. He told her the doctors needed the money immediately, that every hour mattered, and without fast action, Baba Tund might not survive the night. Lena's heart pounded as she listened. She asked if he was sure the treatment could begin right after payment, and Moses swore on everything holy that it was true. He promised her that the moment the money landed, the hospital would begin caring for Baba Tund. He said he would send photos, receipts, even updates from the doctors. His words painted a picture of hope, and Lena clung to that. She trusted him because he was family, and because in times of crisis you want to believe the best in people. Moses's messages came one after another, convincing and full of urgency. He said, "Sister, you are the only one who can do this. You are saving Baba Tund's life." Each word tightened the knot in Lena's chest. She opened her banking app, her fingers trembling, and typed in the full amount. Before pressing send, she paused, staring at the screen. Almost $3,000, all her savings, all her sacrifices, was about to leave her account in one click. But she told herself again, it's worth it, this is for Baba Tund. With a deep breath, she pressed confirm. Seconds later, the confirmation flashed. The money was gone. Moses messaged immediately, received. God bless you, Lena. You will see the proof soon. Relief washed over her. She imagined Baba Tund lying in a hospital bed, finally getting the medicine he needed, perhaps even calling her later to say thank you. She waited for a receipt or a picture of him being treated, but the minutes stretched into hours. Lena told herself hospitals were busy, doctors were occupied, and Moses was probably handling paperwork. Still, she refreshed her phone again and again, hoping for that one message that would prove it was all real. When Moses finally replied, it was short, "All good, sister. Don't worry. Treatment has started." Lena smiled weakly at the words, but she wanted more. She wanted to see it with her own eyes. She wrote back, asking for just one photo or one document. He said the hospital didn't allow photos in critical care, but he promised she would get updates soon. His calm reassurances softened her doubts, and she forced herself to believe. That night she went to bed lighter, telling herself Baba Tund was in safe hands. She even dreamed of visiting him, of seeing him smile again, strong and alive. For Lena, the transfer wasn't just money leaving her account, it was hope being planted, a belief that her sacrifice had already turned into healing. She had no idea that this promise was the beginning of something far darker. At first, Lena tried to stay calm. She told herself hospitals were chaotic places, and maybe Moses was too busy running around to keep her updated. But as hours turned into a full day, something inside her began to stir. The replies from Moses grew shorter and slower. Sometimes she would message him and wait half the night for just a single line like, "They are attending to him," or "Don't stress." No receipts, no photos, no doctor's words, nothing that could prove Baba Tund was truly being treated. She kept checking her phone over and over, her stomach tight, her chest heavy. The silence was louder than any noise she had ever heard. By the second day, she started asking more directly. "Please, brother, send me one paper from the hospital, just so I know everything is okay." Moses responded with another excuse, saying the doctor was strict, the hospital rules didn't allow visitors in the ICU, and that he would send proof later. His words felt slippery, like water in her hands. Always there but impossible to hold. Lena's hope began to wobble, but she kept reminding herself this was family. Surely he would not lie about something this serious. Surely Baba Tund's life was not a game. Then came the message that shook her. In a family group chat she almost never checked, she saw a post from another cousin, Mvita. It wasn't about hospitals or prayers, it was a flashy message about celebration coming soon, with emojis of champagne bottles and dancing. Lena frowned, reading it twice, her heart skipping. What celebration? Why now, when Baba Tund was supposed to be fighting for his life? She scrolled further and saw comments from friends of Mvita talking about big plans at Boma, and finally enjoying. None of it sounded like a family struggling at a hospital. Her mind began to race. Could it be a misunderstanding? Maybe they were celebrating something unrelated, maybe it was just bad timing. But the more she thought about it, the heavier her doubts grew. The timing was too sharp, too cruel. Why would anyone in the family be talking about parties when their elder was in danger? She sent Moses another message, this time more firm. Please, cousin, I saw messages in the group. Tell me honestly, is Baba Tund okay? Did the treatment start? Hours passed with no reply. She stared at the screen, her palms sweating, her heart thumping like a drum. When his response finally arrived, it was only 3 words, trust me, sister. Those words did not comfort her. Instead, they cut deeper. Trust was exactly what she had given him, along with every dollar she had. Now it felt like the ground beneath her feet was cracking. Lena didn't want to believe it, but her gut was screaming that something was wrong, very wrong. The hope that had once carried her was now being slowly replaced by fear. Lena's doubts turned into real fear when she decided to dig deeper. She could not sit still any longer, waiting for Moses's short replies that said nothing. One night, unable to sleep, she scrolled through social media, searching for any sign of Baba Tund, hoping maybe someone had posted a prayer or an update from the hospital. What she found instead stopped her cold. On Vita's page, there was a photo uploaded only hours earlier, a group of smiling faces, dressed in bright summer clothes, sunglasses shining under the sun. Behind them was the clear blue water of Boma Harbor, and in their hands were drinks lifted high. The caption read, "Finally living, blessings upon blessings." Lena zoomed in on the photo, her heart racing. There was Moses. There was Mvita. There were 2 other relatives she knew. But not Baba Tund. Not even a mention of him. Her breath grew shallow as she swiped again. More pictures appeared, this time with cruise ship decks in the background. Laughter, wide grins, peace signs, and even a video clip of them dancing as music blasted. Hashtags filled the screen, hashtag Boma Cruise, hashtag Goodlife, hashtag No Stress. Lena's hands trembled. She looked for any sign that these photos were old, that maybe this was from another time. But then she saw it, digital boarding passes posted as proof of vibes, stamped with the current date. Her worst fear slowly came alive. The money she had given, the money meant to save Baba Tund, was funding a party on the sea. She tried to breathe but the air felt heavy, her chest locked tight. She zoomed into one of the boarding passes and saw Moses's name clearly printed, bold and undeniable. Another carried Mvita's. The reality hit her like a blow, these were not coincidences. It was her money. Her sacrifices, her dreams, her siblings' school fees, her future, all floating away on that cruise ship, turned into champagne and selfies. Tears blurred her vision but she couldn't stop scrolling. She saw Moses posing with sunglasses, smiling wide as if life had never been better. She saw a relative she trusted grinning with plates of seafood, the kind of food she had only ever dreamed of tasting. And all the while, not one word about Baba Tund, not one picture of a hospital, not even a whisper of the emergency that had torn her heart apart. Lena dropped her phone on the bed and covered her face with her hands. Betrayal burned inside her like fire. She replayed every moment, the urgent call, the promises, the short replies, the excuses. It all twisted into one truth she could not deny anymore. They had lied. They had stolen. They had played with her love and turned it into their ticket to luxury. For a moment, she wanted to believe there was some explanation, some mistake. But the photos told the story loud and clear. The money meant for saving a life was now buying pleasure, and Baba Tund's name was nowhere to be found. Lena could not stay silent after what she had seen. The next morning, she stormed into the family group chat, her fingers flying across the keyboard. She posted the screenshots of the cruise photos, the boarding passes with Moses's and Vita's names, and wrote, "Where is Baba Tund? Where is the hospital proof you promised me? I sent money to save his life, not to fund a party at Boma Harbor." Her words landed like fire. At first, no one replied. Then Moses jumped in, acting offended. He said she was overreacting, that she misunderstood, that the photos were old memories, being reposted for fun. Lena felt her blood boil. She knew the dates on those boarding passes, she knew the truth. She typed back, refusing to be silenced. Soon, the chat turned into chaos. Some relatives sided with Moses, saying Lena was being disrespectful for questioning family. Others stayed quiet, too afraid to speak. Moses kept twisting his words, gaslighting her, calling her emotional and ungrateful. "Do you think I would lie about my own uncle?" he wrote. "Stop embarrassing us in front of family." Lena felt the sting of betrayal deep in her chest, but she refused to back down. She knew what she had seen. The whispers started in Kisenga within days. Neighbors began asking questions, gossip spread in the market, and the story grew with every retelling. People started to look at Lena with pity and at Moses with suspicion. The shame in the family was no longer private. Lena realized she had to take the truth beyond their closed doors. With trembling hands, she made a long post on her social media page. She shared her story from the beginning, the desperate call for help, the $2,900 transfer, the promises of quick treatment, the silence, and finally the discovery of the cruise photos. She attached the screenshots and wrote, "This is what betrayal looks like. I gave up my future to save Baba Tund. Instead, they used my sacrifice for luxury." She pressed post and sat frozen, unsure if she had just made the biggest mistake of her life or the bravest choice. Within hours, the post exploded. Friends began sharing it, then strangers, then local community pages. Comments flooded in, some angry, some sympathetic, many offering support. People called her brave for speaking out. Others demanded justice and tagged journalists and local leaders. Lena watched the numbers climb, hundreds of shares, thousands of views. For the first time, she felt she was not alone. The truth was no longer locked inside family arguments. It was out in the open, where lies could not so easily hide. Moses tried to call her, his voice filled with anger, warning her to delete the post before it destroyed the family name. But Lena had made her choice. She was tired of silence, tired of being gaslight. If her pain was going to burn, she decided it would light a fire the whole community could see. After her post went viral, Lena began receiving messages from strangers who wanted to help. Some were just kind words, but a few offered real support. Among them was a local journalist named Daniel, who worked for a community paper. He sent her a direct message saying, "I believe your story needs to be told properly. If you allow me, I can help dig deeper." At first, Lena hesitated. She worried about exposing more of her private pain. But Daniel's tone was gentle, and he promised to focus on the truth. She finally agreed, knowing she couldn't fight this battle alone. Daniel met Lena at a small cafe in Kisenga. He listened carefully as she retold every detail, from the urgent call to the shocking cruise photos. He took notes, asked for copies of the screenshots, and said he would start looking into Moses's story. "People need to see the proof with their own eyes," he said. His determination gave Lena a new sense of strength. She no longer felt like one woman shouting into the wind. The next step came from an unlikely place, a bank clerk named Amina. She had seen Lena's viral post and recognized the bank's logo on the transfer screenshot. She reached out quietly, saying she might be able to trace the path of the money, though it had to be discreet. With Lena's permission, Amina checked the records and confirmed what Lena feared: the funds had not gone anywhere near a hospital account. Instead, they were split into several withdrawals, including large cash pickups and payments linked to travel agencies. One payment led straight to tickets for the Boma Harbor cruise line. When Amina showed Lena the evidence, Lena felt her knees weaken. It was painful to see her suspicions confirmed in black and white, but it was also empowering. Now she had proof. It was no longer just her words against theirs. Daniel prepared an article with all the details. Lena's testimony, the bank trail, the photos, and even quotes from community members who had started to speak up about Moses's lifestyle. He promised to publish once Lena gave her blessing. As the news spread further, supporters began to rally around her. People shared the story with hashtags like #JusticeForLena and #BabaTunTruth. Some even offered to help her recover part of the stolen money through legal action. Local women's groups praised her bravery, saying too often families silence women who dare to challenge wrongdoing. For the first time since sending the money, Lena felt she wasn't fighting alone. Every message of support, every shared post, every piece of evidence became like armor around her. The lies that once made her feel small were now being stripped away. She saw clearly that what had been done to her was not just a family betrayal but a crime against trust and sacrifice. And this time, the community was watching. This time, the truth had witnesses. When the evidence came out, there was no more hiding. The article Daniel published spread across the region, and people who once whispered in corners now spoke loudly about the betrayal. Moses and Vida could no longer pretend. Everywhere they went, eyes followed them, voices called them thieves, and doors that once opened with smiles now shut in their faces. The shame was heavy, and for the first time, they felt the weight of what they had done. Some relatives begged Lena to take the post down and forgive quietly, but she refused. Forgiveness without truth felt like another kind of theft. The pressure worked. Under community eyes, Moses returned a portion of the money, only a fraction of what was stolen, but enough to show that justice was possible. The rest remained lost, swallowed by cruises, food, and careless joy. The family was never the same again. Ties broke, gatherings grew tense, and Lena found herself standing apart from those who had once been her closest people. It hurt, but it also gave her clarity. Sometimes blood ties are not protection but chains, and she chose to break free. Instead of sinking into bitterness, Lena turned her pain into purpose. She began speaking at local gatherings, warning others about financial scams within families, urging women especially to demand transparency. Her story inspired others to come forward with their own experiences of betrayal. Slowly, she built a reputation not just as a victim, but as a voice for accountability. What was once her deepest wound became her loudest message, that trust is sacred, that sacrifice should never be abused, and that even in betrayal, strength can rise. Lena could not get back everything she lost, but she had found something else, her power.